7-6. Products or sums, products, and factoring. Okay, are y'all ready?
No.
Yes. Okay, so sum means what?
Add.
Sum means add. Okay, product means multiply. Factoring. Huh? Divide. Okay, so we've talked about how factoring means divide. Today, okay, factoring is more about working backwards. Does that make sense? Okay, working backwards. All right, so we've said it's dividing in the past. We're going to say it's breaking it down. Or working backwards. Okay, we're taking our answer, we're breaking it down. We're working backwards. Which is dividing, but I've learned how to teach it without having to actually divide it to make it easier.
Way to go.
Okay. Alright, so it says find the two terms that multiply to the first expression and add to get the second. Okay, so this is just like what we were doing before lunch. Alright, so if I want to the product of 36 and the sum of 15, we go to our calculator and graph. Okay, right here. And which one do I plug in? Which one do I plug in?
The
36.
36, the product. 36 divided by x. Control T. And I want two numbers that add together to give me 15, which are what? 3 and 12. Are you with me? Remember? Okay. Then we're going to do it again on number 2. Product of 3 and sum of -4. So I'm going to go to my graph. And which one am I plugging in over x? 3. Always the product. 3 divided by x. Okay. Control T. Oops. Come on. There we go. Now it's a negative, so what? I have to go up to the negative numbers. Which ones work? -1 and -3. Add together, give me 4. Okay. So like I told you, all right, this part right here is just one small piece to the whole puzzle. Okay, one small piece to the whole puzzle. So it says, how are we going to use this information to factor? Okay, so normally we learn to factor, all right? We learned factoring by using the GCF. Remember this right here? Where we found our GCF and then we divided it and we broke it down, right? And we were working backwards. Y'all remember this? Okay. It's essentially the same thing now, but these don't have a GCF other than one. Okay. So one works for all of them, right? Is there a variable that also goes into all of them? No. Okay, well, if I divided by 1 using GCF, nothing would change, right? If I took a 1 out, is everybody with me? Okay, if I did this, what we learned last time, but divided everything by 1, nothing would change because anything divided by 1 stays the same, okay? And so now we have to come up with a new way to factor if it doesn't have a GCF. Okay, so there's no GCF, this is how we factor. Now, when I first started teaching this, the show X Factor was out. Y'all remember? Have you ever heard of X Factor? It was like kind of like The Voice, American Idol, like those types of shows.
Yeah.
Okay, X Factor. So whenever I told my kids, if you ever see the word factor, you have to think of the show X Factor. Because I teach you by using a big X. Okay? Now, if you're on your test or your review or your STAR test or whatever, there's not going to be an X on there to tell you, oh, this is a factor problem, you need to do the X factor. Okay? You have to come up and draw your own X if it says factor. Okay, are you with me? Now, majority of the time, if you're factoring, you're going to be using the X factor. Okay? Greatest common factor, yeah, you might use that sometimes, but majority of the time, if it says factor, it's going to be an X factor problem. Are you with me? Okay, so our X factor, every part of the X, all the gaps of the X, so there's 4 gaps around the X, right? Are you see what I'm talking about? Like, right here is a gap that I'm going to write in. Right here is a gap that I'm going to write in. Gap, gap, okay? 4 gaps. All gaps are going to have a number in it, okay? So what I want you to do is if the X wasn't there, you would draw your X, and then right here, you would put multiply and add. Okay, multiply symbol and add symbol. Because what does multiply mean? What's another word for multiplying? Product. Okay, which is what we're talking about. What's another word for add? Sum. Okay, so that's where our product number and our sum number is going to be. So what we learned was how to find the product and sum if I give you those numbers. Okay, so I gave you the product number and I gave you the sum number. On these problems, you have to go find these 2 numbers that I gave you previously. Okay, so I have to find the numbers from here. Well, in order to find the product, listen, we're going to take our very first number, which is a 1. Okay, I'm going to take a 1 and the last number. So my first number and my last number, and I'm going to multiply them together. So what is 1 times 32? 32, which is going to go where it says multiply, because I multiplied them. That's my product. Okay? So the first and the last number you're going to multiply, and it's going to go on top of the X. My add number is always just going to be the middle number, which is 12. Okay, so there's my product and sum. Now, I need to go find 2 numbers that are going to be multiplied together to give me 32 and add together to give me 12. So we're going to go to the graph of the calculator, just like we did in the warm-up. So everybody go to the graph. And I want to do the product, so 32 divided by X, enter. Control T. Come on, Ish. Why is it not doing it? There we go. Okay. And I want 2 numbers that are going to add together to give me 12. What are they?
4 and 8.
4 and 8. Okay, so on each side, we're going to do 4 and 8. Those are my 2 numbers. Okay, I'm going to go back to GCF. All right? Okay, we're going to take a break from the X. We filled the X up, and now let me talk about where we're going. With GCF, okay, factoring is the opposite of distributing, right? I told you you could check these by distributing. Are you with me? Okay, so this is how our problem's going to look if you are doing GCF. You have one number on the outside, and we distribute it to everything. That's GCF. What's another way that I've recently taught you how to distribute? Huh? Yes, good job, Meadow. Double distribute, okay? So if we have our GCF, we just do regular distribution like this, like you've always known how to do, okay? If we're using X factor, that is the opposite of double distribute, okay? So how I'm going to start this is I'm going to draw my 2 parentheses next to each other. So everybody draw your parentheses, like if you were going to double distribute, okay? So my parentheses go first. In each parentheses, the first thing you're going to write is the variable that you're using. So in this one, we're using what? X. So that goes first. Nope. Just like this, X and X. Then, what goes behind it? So I have a positive 4 right here, right? Everybody see this? One of my numbers is a positive 4, so I'm going to do plus 4. And my second number is a positive 8, so I'm going to do plus 8. And that's my answer. Okay, now, if I wanted to check this, how would I check it? I would double distribute. So what is X times X? X squared. What is X times 8? 8X, right? Underneath, 4 times X. 4X, 4 times 8. 32. Combine your like terms, which are 8x and 4x, which give me what? Is that what I started with? Yes, so then I'm done. I'm finished. Okay, we got it right. Okay, so when you're doing GCF, okay, when you're factoring by GCF, that means that you just have one number on the outside. Okay, when you're factoring by X factor, that means you're doing the opposite of double distribute. Okay, questions? Okay, look at number 4. Okay, I know I know that I'm factoring. Okay, so I got to fill out my X. So if your X isn't drawn, you draw a big X and you do multiply and add. And how do I find my top number? How do I find the top multiply number?
Add the first number and the last.
Multiply the first and the last. So 1 times negative 48. What is 1 times negative 48? Negative 48. And how do I find my bottom number? The middle one, which is 2. Levi, put that away, please. Okay. Now I need to go find the side numbers. Okay. Ethan, are you looking up here? We got to go find the side numbers. So my side numbers are going to be multiply together to get 48, negative 48, and add together to give me 2. So I'm going to go to my calculator and go to a new graph and plug in negative 48 divided by x. Control T. Okay, so I'm working with negatives, so what I want to do. Well, these have negatives on it, so that's okay. But I want to plug it into the calculator and make sure that I'm adding right. Okay, so I'm going to do Control Doc and do my control arrows back and forth to add. So 1 and negative 48. 1 plus negative 48. Does that give me positive 2? No. So then I go back to my table, do the next one. 2 and negative 24. It does not give me positive 2. 3 and negative 16. Not positive 2. 4 and negative 12. Not positive 2. Decimal we don't do. 6 and negative 8. Gives me negative 2, but I want positive 2, so I'm going to go back. Decimals we don't do. 8 and negative 6. Gives me positive 2. So on the sides are going to be 8 and negative 6. Okay? So once you do your X factor, we're going to draw our 2 sets of parentheses emptied. What variable are we using? S. S goes first in each one. S and S. Then I have a positive 8 and a negative 6. Questions? How do I check it? Double distribute. Okay? Okay, number 5. Number 5, I'm factoring, so I need to do the X factor. Your X is not already there. You draw your X, your multiply, and your add. It's important that you do multiply and add. How do I find the top number? First times last. So 1 times 12. 12. How do I find the bottom number? The middle, which is negative 7. Got to go find the 2 sides. Okay, so I'm going to do 12 divided by x in the calculator. Control T. Okay, I need a negative answer, so I'm going to go up to the negatives. Control Doc. So negative 1 and negative 12. Oops. Negative 1 plus negative 12 is not negative 7. Negative 2 and negative 6. Not negative 7, but I'm getting closer. Negative 3 plus negative 4, negative 7. So my two numbers are negative 3 and negative 4. Okay, after the x, what do? Empty set of parentheses. What variable am I using? X and x. I have a negative 3 and a negative 4. Okay, don't go ahead in the last one because it's going to be different. Okay, why do you think the last one's going to be different? Because why? Because there's a 3 in the front. Okay, do you see the 3? Everybody see it? So if there's a number in the front, so right here that's a 1, and a 1. So we started easy with 1s in the front, okay? Because there's a 3, we're going to put one last step at the end. Okay? Okay. So, x factor. Because we're doing x factor, draw your x and do your multiply and add. Come on, Ethan. Okay. First times last. 3 times negative 6 gives me negative 18. And what goes on the bottom? The middle number, negative 7. Okay, you guys go find your two numbers. Okay, what are my two numbers? What do we think?
2 and negative 9.
2 and negative 9. Positive 2, negative 9. Okay, after the x, what do? Empty set of parentheses. Then what? Variable first. Then what? Positive 2, negative 9. Now I told you because there's a 3 at the front, we got to do one extra step. Nope. Huh? How do you know? How'd you know?
You guessed, all right?
Yeah, you're right. How'd you know? Okay. So, because there's a 3 in the front, all right, look up here because this is easily forgotten. A lot of people will forget this last step because normally you'll have a 1 in front, but every now and then you're going to get a number in front and you have to remember this, okay? So, because there's a 3 in front, I have to divide each one by 3. Okay, now, watch. When we double distribute, look up here. When we double distribute, we do not use fractions, right? You do not want fractions in these problems. There's never going to be one, okay? So, 2 divided by 3. If I put 2 divided by 3 in the calculator, I get a fraction as the answer. That cannot be part of my parentheses. Okay, no, we don't do decimals, we don't do fractions. It has to be whole numbers, okay? So because I do not get a whole number, what we're going to do is I'm going to take this 3, the bottom number only. Look, 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 Levi, look. I'm going to take the 3 and I'm going to put it right there. Okay, so it's going to become 3x plus 2. The 2 stays the same in the back. Okay, then on my next set of parentheses, can I divide negative 9 and 3?
Yes.
Well, negative 9 divided by 3, look up here, gives me a negative 3. So x is going to stay the same, but I'm going to put the answer negative 9 divided by 3 to be negative 3. And that's my answer. Okay? So if you have a number in the front, you have to divide by that number If you get a fraction, we don't do fractions. So you take that bottom number, bump it to the front. If your fraction gives you a whole number answer, then you just write the whole number. Got it? Questions? Let's check it. Let's see if this works. What do y'all think? 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times negative 3. 2 times x. 2 times negative 3. Combine my like terms. 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. Is that what we started with?
Yeah.
Yep, so I'm right. Questions? We are right. Any questions over this? How do y'all feel about it?
Sad.
Doing okay?
No.
Okay.